This is another RockerMike Presents.
Right. This is a RockerMike and Rob Presents show.
Yep.
And we have an unbelievable guest today, the famous Joey Molland from the band Badfinger. He was the guitarist in that band, and he has a new album coming out this week called Be True to Yourself. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the history of Badfinger, and hopefully Joey's going to have a good time being here. We're so glad he's here. Say hello, Joey Molland.
Well, hello there. Hello to both of you guys, and hello to the world.
All right, so I'm really glad that you got this new album coming out. It's been a while since you released anything, right?
Yeah, about 10 years or something, maybe a little bit less than that, but about 10 years, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good, and I did check some of it out. It's fantastic.
Thank you, man.
But you know, now you're originally from Liverpool,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, now in doing the research on you, and I always really get into the research on everybody we talk about. You played in some garage bands in the early mid '60s, pretty much before Badfinger. One band was called the Assassins, one band was called the Profiles, and you also played in the band called the Masterminds around 1965, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, and it's interesting because you were on Immediate, and you did a cover of Bob Dylan's "She Belongs to Me." Yeah, and that's a fantastic song. And I said to myself, I said, the Masterminds. I've heard of this. I went into my record collection, and I found a Immediate Singles Volume 1 CD. And there you
we are. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
right there with the Jimmy Page session stuff and other things that were going on Immediate at that time. And I listened to it. I'm like, I remember buying this album and being like, this is all great stuff. And here I am talking to you. So it's fantastic.
Boy, that's a while ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Mike, were you saying that he played in the George Harrison album too?
Yeah. We're going to get to that. But I don't want to jump too far ahead because there's another band I got to mention, Gary Walker and the Rain.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you played with them from 67 to 69. Yeah. Now, did you play on the song Spooky?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. That's what. Yeah, and I said to myself, I said, that name is really familiar. And I started poking around, and I said, all right, that's the song Spooky.
Yeah.
And now, was that a hit? Did you have a hit with that, or was that more like
a kind of minor hit in England? I guess in the top 50 or something like that. Wasn't a big hit, though.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a one-hit wonder kind of thing, right?
We did an album, and Gary was the drummer with the Walker Brothers, and he reformed the band. Right. We had some hits in Japan from that same album, and that was kind of when I started to write songs, right around there.
Yeah, you were writing for that band.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I wrote maybe 4 or 5 songs for the album. Yeah.
Now, from this band is how you got into Badfinger, right? You did an audition with the Ivies, which we all know became Badfinger in the history of them. And how did you feel about that? I mean, was that a band you really wanted to join?
Yeah.
Did someone kind of direct you? Or
I was recommended to join them. They were called the Ivies at the time. I'd seen them on the TV, and they were very poppy in those days, those early days. Yeah. And I was a kind of more of a rhythm and blues guy, a rock and roll player, you know what I mean? Chuck Berry and all that. And so I kind of dug that music, and I was a bit nervous about going down, but my friends in Liverpool were telling me they were working with the Beatles. I should go at least give them a shot. See what you think of them when you meet them and that. And so I did. I went to London and auditioned for them. They were very nice cats, and I got the job in the band. I was surprised that they gave it to me. Actually, a lot of other people after it, and I joined them, and so started making records with them and everything.
Right. Now, Come and Get It was a song written for them specifically by Paul McCartney.
I don't think he wrote it for the band specifically. I think he'd written it for Ringo's new movie, The Magic Christian, which was a song all about money. And if you want to hear it, come and get it. But he read something where one of the members of the Ivies said they weren't very happy about working with the Beatles. It hadn't done much for them. They didn't seem to be getting anywhere. And of course, Paul read that somewhere, and he went around there and gave them that song. And I'm getting a lot of noise on this. Are you?
I'm okay on my end. How about you, Rob? You all right?
Yeah, I hear you guys perfectly. Like I hear you guys
cool,
perfect.
man.
You sound great.
Cool. So Paul took the song around to them in reaction to that interview that he'd read, and he gave it to them, and he said, "You learn this song just like I recorded it, and I'll come round next week, take you in the studio, and produce a record for you, and it will be your first hit single, this." And so that's what he did. He gave them the Come and Get It song, And that,
Okay. Now, there's a little bit of a backstory with this. I wanted to ask you a question, because the band said that they kind of wanted to change it a little bit. When they were talking to Paul McCartney, and McCartney says, "No, you got to do it exactly like this because this is the hit."
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Now, just curious. I mean, in the time that you joined the band, was there any indication how they wanted to do it?
No.
There was no story with that.
No, they just told me the story about him saying that, and he was very insistent, so. Yeah.
Okay. Question, Badfinger. Now, the name Badfinger, the official story was always that it was a song by John Lennon called Badfinger Boogie.
Yeah.
All right. And you guys took the name from that. But there's another kind of side story with that, and I want you to kind of set the record straight, Joey. Was it from the Badfinger Boogie song, or was it a stripper from Germany named Helga Fab Dinger?
Oh, it was the stripper from Germany, man.
I knew it. I knew it had to be that. I like that story better anyway. Oh, wow. Okay, so Badfinger's now a band. They're not the Ivies anymore. And the lineup at this point was Pete Ham singing, right? Tom Evans had moved over to bass when you joined. You had Mike Gibbons on drums, and then yourself on guitar, and Pete Ham played guitar too.
Yeah.
Ham and Evans were the main songwriters. Okay, though I know you all contributed, right?
It's kind of right. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure there was some input. Whatever the official songwriting goes to. But now over a period from 70 to 72, you had a bunch of smash hits. Come and Get It was a worldwide hit. Okay, now you kind of walked into that. I mean, that was a song that they basically had. You joined the band. Was it already in the charts, like high up the charts when
it wasn't even out. No? It wasn't even out.
Oh, it wasn't out yet.
Yeah, I joined the band and the record came out. They actually changed their name then to Badfinger, and the record came out under the name Badfinger. Of course, it was a big hit, like you were saying, and we carried on then making records,
Yeah. I mean, other songs, No Matter What, Day After Day, Baby Blue, Without You, okay, which has been covered a few times over the years. Now, Day After Day, I got to tell you, it was one of the first singles I ever bought as a kid.
Wow.
Okay. The first actual single I ever bought, and I've mentioned it a few times, is the Sweets Little Willie.
Oh yeah, man. Why not?
And I think you might have been the second one. I remember having that Day After Day single, and years later when I understood music more, I was like, wow, I'm hearing George Harrison on there, and he was on there.
That's right. You played some slide guitar on there. Yeah.
Now, from the beginning, Badfinger was always, compared to the Beatles. People were saying they're the next Beatles. How did that? I mean, it had to be pressure in a way, but how did that affect the band as far as the relationships in the band or the songwriting?
It didn't. I tell you, it really didn't have any effect on the band, other than we thought these people must be mad saying things like that about us. As far as we were concerned, we were just a band working on writing songs and making records like all the other bands were doing.
Well, I mean, when you listen to Badfinger, you do hear a little, Beatles influence, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. But everybody was influenced by the Beatles.
That's right, man. That's right.
All right. And you were kind of, I think I watched the documentary and you kind of had said something in the past that you almost took it as maybe I might not be quoting you exactly right, but like a challenge.
Well, maybe it made us work a bit harder, but I don't really see that. It was a little bit embarrassing, really, to be always compared to them. We grew up in Liverpool, played the same clubs, learned our guitar from the same guitar players they learned from, learned all the old songs, learned all the new songs, and we had the Beatles influence as well, because the Beatles were getting big too. So we had all of those influences plus them. And when we came to do our stuff, make our records, like everybody else, we poured out the influences that we had. And it wasn't a question of copying. It was a question of just your influences coming out,
Yeah. I mean, and maybe it kind of came from the fact that you were on Apple.
Well, I think,
people looked at that. Oh, that's a Beatles label.
Yeah, or the Beatles are tailoring them to be the next Beatles or something. Who knows? But
maybe that's where it came. It's a lot of publicity. You probably, I mean, I'm glad to hear you didn't pay that much attention to it, because I could see how that could really mess with a band. That kind of press.
Magazines were writing that about us. Rolling Stones wrote that about us. The Rolling Stone magazine, and they were saying these are the kind of records the Beatles should be making. And that was a bit crazy. We thought that was nuts, Sure. It influenced us a little bit, but it never really kind of changed our minds or anything like that, No,
that's good to hear. Now, because you were on Apple, I guess, and friends with the Beatles, you ended up playing on George Harrison's "All Things Must Pass."
Yep.
You were also on the concert for Bangladesh that he did. We did a show a few months ago on George Harrison's "All Things Must Pass." Yeah. Every month or so, we do a show just based on a certain album, every month or two. And this was one of my all-time favorite albums. I think it's the best Beatles solo album, in my opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
What was your contribution on that?
He asked us to play acoustic guitars for him, and that's what we did. Mike played a bit of percussion as we went along, but Pete and Tommy and I all played acoustics.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. We played rhythm for him. It's good.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Now, you're also, I saw some information here that you were asked to play on John Lennon's Imagine record, but they didn't use the tracks?
We did a couple of songs on there, and we played on Jealous Sky, and we played on I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. I think John got us down there to play on Jealous Sky, but he ended up using the stuff on I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. So that's why he gave us credit for it, and that's what I get my royalties for.
I mean, I'm kind of blown away. I'm talking to a guy that played on John Lennon's Imagine and George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. I mean, if you had only just done that, I would be amazed. Okay, but you have this amazing career in Badfinger, but there was a lot of problems. And
we got roped in with crooks and stuff, and
I was gonna wanted to bring that up a little bit, and you could talk about it as much as you're comfortable.
Well, they left us pretty much destitute at the end of it. The end of the band was in late '74. Well, when I left the band, I had $700, and that's a fact. Out of all the records, all the royalties, all the gigs. Everywhere you can make money in music, I made $700 for those 4 years, And
now a lot of the that's
Wow.
crazy. A lot of
$700.
this could be blamed on the fact that you were involved with Stan Polly.
oh yeah, he's the crook I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to name him. He definitely ripped you guys
Oh,
off.
man.
Did what made you sign with this guy? I mean, is there anything
Well-
that specifically was it that he was representing Al Cooper, or what was it?
Yeah, that was all part of it. The main reason we signed with him was we needed help getting a tour of America on the back of those hit records we'd had. We'd had Come and Get It was a big hit, and then we had No Matter What coming out, and we needed help doing that. And he was suggested to us. We had a connection with him through our agent in England, a fellow named Barry Marshall. He booked Lou Christie, and Lou Christie was managed by Stan Polly. And Paul, Lou went through the same deal as we did with Polly.
I've heard that.
Bloody awful. Anyway, so that's how we got with him. We needed a business manager and somebody connected with the American showbiz to be able to get us on the road over here. And unfortunately,
basically, he put you guys kind of on a salary, right?
Well,
and was supposed to be watching the rest of them.
Well, that's what we did. We all agreed to that. We wanted to save a bit of money. We formed a corporation for tax purposes, they said, and the rest of it was just mumbo jumbo money talk. And we did take a minimal wage. We made like $350 a week, and which was good money in those days, by the way. But
sure,
we never saved the money. He just took the rest of the money and spent it on expenses and whatever he liked, So
yeah, his expenses.
Yeah.
Crazy. Now, in '71, you guys were ready to make your third album called Straight Up.
Yeah.
Okay? That was originally produced by Jeff Emmerich, but Apple had a problem with it, right?
Yeah, it didn't turn out well. Originally, actually, Tommy Evans and Pete Ham produced it. But they weren't producers, and so the record sounded a bit kind of crude. It was given to Jeff Emmerich, and he remixed it, but it still wasn't good enough sound. So it was decided then, that George would take over, and George Harrison, that is, and he produced it, really.
And you were satisfied with that?
I think he did a fantastic job, and actually,
I love that album.
He gave it up in the middle because he got involved with the Bangladesh tragedy, and he wanted to do something for that. So George asked Todd Rundgren to take over the production, which he did. Yeah, Todd Rundgren came in and did a fantastic job. He was very hard to work with, but he did an incredible job. And the album came out and was really well received. We had a couple of hit records on it, Day After Day, Baby Blue.
After Day was
that's a great song.
Yeah,
great
Baby
song.
Blue. If I had to pick my favorite Badfinger song, it's probably that one.
Yeah, it's a knockout number. It's
song,
one of my favorites myself. It's great to play live.
Did you realize they used it at the end of Breaking Bad?
Oh yeah, sorry. What a knockout! What a knockout! It reminded me of two things. One, it was a really good rock record. It sounded like a beat group playing beat music, and the drumming on it is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's my favorite one.
I love that. In Breaking Bad. That was fantastic.
Love it, well, you gotta love that when Martin Scorsese uses one of your songs. It's incredible. It's incredible. Or one of your records. He did the same with Without You. Used Without You in a Casino.
Casino, right?
Yeah.
The scene when it was the scene when him and De Niro and Sharon Stone, I think, were fighting or something. If I remember
that's right.
She's screaming. Yeah. She's screaming her head off, and then all of a sudden you hear the Nilsson version. Yeah. Well, he was good friends with Harry Nilsson, so I guess that's why he used his version.
Yeah.
But your version, I love it. And it gets forgotten. I don't know why. A lot of people I've spoken to, they didn't even know that it was a cover. And I'm like, yeah, man, you got to hear this. This is the original version, you know? But it's great. But now, your fourth album came out in '73 on Apple. It would be the last
Yeah.
one for that label, and it was called
Yeah.
S. All right. Give us a story how you came up with the name.
Well, by that time we were, we kind of knew things were getting wrong, and we didn't know anything about what we were doing. We knew nothing about the music business even then, and so we got the image of ourselves as like a donkey. You know what I mean? And Tommy came up with the title of Ass, and so we had a friend of ours, a painter, Peter Corriston, painted the picture of a donkey with some headphones and kind of nice like that. And that's really
it's a great
that's
album.
really what it's about. We were a bunch of dopes, just going along with it, enjoying ourselves, doing our best, but just getting cleaned out.
Now, Polly was negotiating a deal with you for Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, were you? It's funny because you were on salary. He was supposed to be, saving your money in an account and all that stuff. Did you have any inkling at that point that he was up to no good, or still by that point you were all right?
Well, we were kind of all right, really. We were going along with the picture. We thought the money was being saved. It wasn't until '74 that we really knew that the money was going, and it was gone, really.
Yeah.
We were doing all our gigs, and the records were selling well. We were getting big royalties from Apple and making lots of money. We thought, great, we're saving up the money. And we were going to do a thing, man. And I don't know if you know about this, but the idea was to save up the money. And by '73, '74, we would have had about $5 million in the bank. And the idea then in the corporate world was to go public and to sell shares in Badfinger Enterprises. And,
whoa! Now wait a minute. I got to interrupt you for a second because a certain New York band did that a couple years later. Do you know which one, Joey?
I don't, but I know David Bowie did it. Oh, was it Kiss? Wow.
Kiss was the first. Kiss was selling Kiss stock in the '70s.
Holy cow! Well, there you go, man.
And you would have beat them to it probably by about 5-6 years. Yeah.
Wow.
I never knew that. That would have been a great. Oh my God. That would have changed the industry had you done something like that. A big band like you guys doing that. Wow. That's great. That's great. Now I'm a little confused about one thing because you left Apple, you signed with Warner Brothers, but you immediately start working on a new album, which would be your fifth album, the self-titled Badfinger, right? Now both these albums got released and they were kind of very close to each other at the same time. What was the thinking with that? Was that intentional or
who
not?
knows? I've got no idea. I know, we didn't want to leave Apple. Alan Klein made it impossible for us to stay. The deal he offered us was worse than the deal that we got when we signed with them in the first place, because the Beatles record deal was really good. But of course, Klein came in. He did a normal record company deal, which were all bad in those days. The artists got nothing and paid for everything. That was basically the deal. So our manager, Polly, we're talking about, went to Warner's. Warner Brothers gave us a fortune, or offered us a fortune right away, when Apple was really acting like they didn't want us, and they were breaking up in London. The Beatles had broken up. The company was going down. So we really didn't have a choice. But the first song on the Ass album is Apple of My Eye.
Great
and that's
song.
a song about that. It's
about
specifically about Apple. Yeah, come on. And who wants to read the label that the Beatles own? It'd be stupid, So anyway, we made the first Warner album. And like you say, Apple released the Ass album, and Warner Brothers released the first Badfinger album. And they died. Both of the albums died.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that had, one been out, and maybe, if the Apple one came out first and had done well, and you waited a little bit for the next one, that might have done well too. But the fact that the two were out at the same time, maybe people were not going to buy two albums.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and it's not like, you know, that's a strange dynamic, because by the 70s, you didn't see too many bands recording two albums in 1 year anymore.
No,
that was more of a 60s thing. Though I will say, bands like the Ramones and some of the punk bands and the Ramones, they did that. You know, they released two albums in 1 year. But that was even then, that was a throwback to the 60s doing that. It was intentional.
Yeah.
You know, but so that year in '74, you did a big U.S. tour, right?
Yeah.
How did that go? Because I've heard that was one of your
best.
We
had it was really successful for us. The crowds were great. The band was good. Right. A lot of good songs. We were jammy. All the things I think the people wanted from a rock band in those days. Badfinger was it, you know. So it was really good. We were looking forward to a bright future. And then we went in at the end of it, and we recorded another album.
That's the Wish You Were Here album.
That's right, yeah. And it really turned out pretty good. We did the tracks down at Caribou. And like I say, we just come off the road, so the band was tight and hot, you know what I mean?
Caribou's in Colorado.
Yeah,
right?
Caribou, the Caribou Ranch.
Yeah. So you recorded some of it there, some of it in London.
That's right. We did all the backtracks in America at the Caribou Ranch, and we did the overdubs, the vocals, and some strings and what have you over at Air London, George Martin's studio. Yeah.
Right. Now another title, genre, whatever you want to call it, that you guys been called as power pop.
Yeah.
Okay. And I definitely would call it that. Did you use that term at the time, or that was more something that came a little bit later?
It came a little bit later, yeah. We were credited with kind of starting the genre, really.
It's funny because we did me and Rob did a show on Sunday on the band Big Starr. Do you remember that? Yeah. Now, they've always been, in my mind, you know, you guys too, I guess at the same time, one of the first, what you would call power pop. There was also the Raspberries out of Ohio. There was a band called Blue Ash that was kind of like that, also out of Ohio. But, you know, there was no genre power pop. But Big Starr, in hindsight, kind of gets that credit for being one of the first power pop bands as well. And I understand you guys did a show with Big Starr once. Do you remember that?
No.
I think it was in '74. If anyone listening is, you know, corrects me, that's fine. I could be wrong. I think it might have been in Wisconsin.
Yeah, maybe. We certainly played all over, so it could have been anywhere.
They opened for you guys. Yeah, they opened for you guys. All right, so now you after the tour, you did the Wish You Were Here album, and that came out in October of '74.
Yeah.
But now during that year, problems with Warner Brothers started because of an account that Stan Polly had opened, but he wouldn't reveal the whereabouts to Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers was, you know, sending him threatening letters, and he ignored them. Is that basically how it happened?
That's not the story we got. And Wish You Were Here came out in, I think, July.
Okay. My mistake.
I think in July. And about 3 weeks after it came out, all of a sudden it was pulled from the shelves. Yes. And it was just pulled off the shelves. And a lawsuit was filed by Warner's against the members of Badfinger because I think $320,000 had gone missing from an escrow account that contained. I got to go back a little bit. When we signed with Warner's, they gave us a great record deal. And part of that record deal was they put $600,000 in an escrow account. And we were going to do 6 albums for them. They were going to give us $250,000 or $225,000 in cash, and they were going to take $100,000 out of that escrow account and give us that. And that was what we got paid for in advance for the album every time we delivered a Warner album. Well, somehow we were told that Polly had gotten into that escrow account and filtered out over $300,000.
Oh my God!
And
Wow.
I got that story from the head of Warner Music. Was a guy named Ed Silver, a great guy. I got to tell you, we always had a great time with Warner's. Joe Smith was the president. Ed Silver was running the music department, and they both loved Badfinger. So we had a great relationship with them. They told us that as soon as they got that escrow account sorted out, they'd drop the lawsuit and we could go back to our normal career, you know.
Yeah.
So it was obvious where the money had gone. We couldn't get any money. I couldn't even buy a tape recorder. I wanted to buy a TIAC, you know, the 4-track TIAC. It came out that year.
That was a new thing.
And it was the first one. So I wanted to get one because I used it for writing songs.
Of course.
And I couldn't get the money. They were only $1,000, you know.
You should have been able to get it.
Man, I'd written half of the music Badfinger recorded, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, the A-side gets as much money as the B-side or the B-side. So I knew I had money, and I knew the rest of the band had money. I couldn't get $1,000.
Did you ever confront Polly, or was he just you couldn't?
No, we couldn't talk to Polly anymore. He was gone. He was living in some dream world. I don't know where it was, but
probably was out of the country.
Yeah, he was gone. He was. I don't know what he was doing, and I didn't really care. All I cared about was I couldn't get this machine. You know, I lived in a rented house and drove a used car. You know.
And you're in one of the biggest bands, in the world.
We were making a lot of money. Yeah, we didn't even know how popular we were. You know what I mean? We weren't like rock stars in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, But I mean, the songs were on the radio. Everybody knew those.
Yeah,
songs.
for sure.
And they were buying the records. You should have had the money.
That's right. We should have took the money because we got the money from Apple. They paid us, but it all went to the manager and he kept it. He just spent it. Yeah. I mean, willy-nilly,
Damn.
So
now, would all this kind of, culminate and climax, I should say, by the end of '74, because you leave the band?
That's right. Well, yeah. I
mean, what was the background of that?
I wanted
to make that final.
I wanted
decision?
to get rid of Polly. I just wanted to get rid of him, and so did Tommy, and so did Mike. But Pete didn't want to.
Pete was loyal to him, or was he just didn't know how to do it?
Well, maybe that's it. He didn't know how to deal with it. And actually, we were rehearsing we had an English tour coming up, and our first one in about 4 years. And Pete was so angry about the Polly situation and the lawsuit coming from Warner's, he left the band.
For a little while,
He
right?
up and left the band, And so he came back. We got a keyboard player fellow named Bob Jackson. And we started rehearsing for the tour. And he came back in and I said, well, what are we going to do about the Polly situation? And still Pete wanted to stay with him. So I said, well, look, if you're staying with him, if you're staying with Polly, I'm leaving. I didn't see any point in staying.
Well, you were getting ripped off, right?
Well, yeah, we basically were.
Why would you stay in that situation?
Yeah, well, Pete didn't believe it. He just didn't believe it. Well, I'll tell you what. I left the band after the tour of England. I said I'll do the tour, but the day after it, I'm leaving, and that's what I did.
But you ended up connecting with Jerry Shirley from Humble Pie.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah, that was a little.
And you started the band. You started the band Natural Gas. Another great name. I have to laugh at that. Another great one. And you did a successful tour at one point with Peter Frampton, who also was originally in Humble Pie.
That's right. Yeah.
But but in April of '75, you got the terrible news about Pete.
That's right.
I mean, how did you? Stupid question, but I mean, I'm sure you were crushed. But how'd you take that? I mean,
I didn't really know how to take it. I was devastated. I'd known Pete. He was a good friend of mine. We'd had all that success together, and I don't know, I was just ashamed of it. I couldn't do anything about it, of course. I had no real idea why. And I still really don't. I can think things, but I don't really know why I did it. I know his wife was going to have a baby very shortly then. He tried to get some money from Polly. And Polly, he was told by the office in New York that there wasn't any money left. It was all gone. And so the next day, Pete went out, got drunk with Tommy. They both, and then he went home and hung himself. And I really don't know why he did it. He didn't say why he was doing it in his note.
He did leave a note, but it didn't exactly say why.
No, it didn't. No, he blamed Polly for all the bad things that had happened to him. Called him a soulless bastard, actually, in the note. But
yes.
But nothing really happened. Peter was dead. It was a disaster. I know Tommy was really affected by it. He was close with Pete every day. Mike was very, very angry about the whole thing. And of course, I'd left and I was trying to get on with my life. I was flat busted broke. I was sleeping in a spare bedroom, and my wife and I were sleeping in the spare bedroom, I should say, of a friend of ours in LA. And we didn't know what to do about it. We had no idea. We couldn't get any money. We had no money. So what are you going to do, you know?
Well, so a couple of years go by. You played with Natural Gas. You did some great live shows with Frampton.
Yeah.
But 1978 comes along, and you kind of reconnect again with Tom Evans.
Yeah.
And you put Badfinger back together, a little different.
Well, here's the story. I'd met two guys when I was living in LA, and this was after Natural Gas. I'd met two fellas from Chicago, Joe Chancini, guitar player, songwriter, and Kenny Hawk, a drummer. And they came around to see me. I jammed with them and stuff. And I liked the songs that Joe wrote. And we were putting it together. And we didn't have a bass player. So I called Tommy just to see what he was up to. And he wasn't really up to anything. I think he was working or something. But he said he'd come over. And he flew over. And we started playing together. And we enjoyed it. It was good. And he liked the songs too. And he had some great songs with him. He brought them with him, of course. And so we started making demos, and we made a record. When we made a demo, we got offered a record deal by Electra Asylum, and a nice deal. And we started to make a record. And as the record went on, Electra Asylum started saying, "Boy, this sounds like Badfinger." With Tommy singing lead, me singing harmony with him, or me singing lead, Tommy singing harmony. It sounded like Badfinger. So they really talked us into using the name. It wasn't something we were really pushing to do. But yeah, we used the name, and the record came out. And the rest is history, right?
Yeah. Now you made two albums in that reformed Badfinger. One album called Airwaves that came out in 78, and then one called Say No More that came out in 81. Yeah. But it was shortly after that the band split up. Yeah. All right. And to me, one of the worst things that could happen to a band kind of happened. And that's when you got two versions of the same band touring around.
Yeah.
All right. You had your version, and Tommy Evans had his. And you were, both out there at the same time. What happened there? What was the split about?
The split was about the second album. We came to record it, and the producer or the record company rep came up, and he only brought us half of the advance. And they were supposed to bring the advance for us. It wasn't much, but they were supposed to bring it all. And they only brought half of it. And they said they'd give us the rest when we went to make the record in Miami. And that wasn't the deal at all. So I took my tape of songs out. We happened to be playing a tape of my songs at the rehearsal. And I took my tape. I said, "Look, well, I'm going home. If you call the label and get the money up, then I'll come back to rehearsal." And Tommy and... Tony Kay, I believe, did a deal with the guy that night where they would take the half of the royalties and they would carry on doing the pre-production and kind of fuck Joey Molland. So,
wow.
So I was working with. It was really half of the band from the Airwaves album, Joe Chancini, the other songwriter, and he and I put a band together. I was not going to be sacked out of Badfinger for not agreeing with the record company. So I did.
Yeah.
I formed a band, and I called Tommy up. I called him a few names. He called me a few names, and
Wow.
and so we broke up, went our own separate ways, and it ended up he was doing gigs and I was doing gigs, and that was just.
Were you both calling it Badfinger, or was it Joey Molland's Badfinger or Tommy Evans' Badfinger? How'd they call it?
To tell you the truth, I can't remember, and I don't. I don't really know if I called it Badfinger or Joey Molland's Badfinger. I think it was called Badfinger though.
Yeah.
I think it was. Nobody owned the name in those days either. The managers had never trademarked the name, so anybody could have had a band called Badfinger.
You didn't think of it.
The real reason that I did it myself was I called our lawyer, Tommy and my lawyer in LA, and I asked him what was going on with the record deal, and he said, "Well, you're out of the band,
Oh.
and that's to me, that ticked me off, So
Understood.
yes, sir. Anyway, and thank you for that. But it didn't do either of us any good, really. Of course, we couldn't make a settlement because we couldn't get the money in London. There's a thing we've left out here. When we found out that Polly was stealing the money, we asked Apple not to pay any more royalties out, right?
Okay.
So, and Apple were good as gold and did that. Neil Aspinall opened an escrow account of his own and put all the Apple royalties that were due to Badfinger in that account. And then he went to the court in London and he gave that account to the court. And they held it. So they were holding the money in London. And none of us could get any money from that account until we all went to court and agreed on the deal. Who got how much money. And we tried to settle it. We tried to do it. We got lawyers. Tommy and I had lawyers. Our own, together. Together we were trying to get this done. And it was we could never settle it. Peter died. Tommy was a bit cagey about the original deal, and there were reasons for that. And I don't want to go into them because
that's okay.
I just don't want to go into them. It's nothing to do with me. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Understood.
Okay. But there were reasons why we couldn't make the settlement, and that argument went on till 1985, and by then Tommy was dead. He committed suicide in 1983.
I know, and that's the fine. The whole tragedy of Badfinger is you had two members end their lives tragically like this, and Tommy ended it the same way that Pete did, by hanging, and it's just a horrible way to go. And after you guys, I guess you guys weren't talking at that point, right?
Well, we were talking once in a blue, and I talked to Tommy very shortly before he died. I had an argument with him actually, but
there was no indication that he was having troubles.
Well, he told me he was going to kill himself, so I guess he was having troubles. But what can you do? I was living in Ohio, in Columbus. I was making a solo record, a Joey Molland record, as it happened.
Right.
And I actually had called Tommy a month before or so, and because the record label had said, call Tommy up and ask him if he wants to make a record. He didn't wait. They didn't offer him enough money, so he wouldn't do it. Anyway, that was.
But you were working on a solo album at that point.
Yeah.
That's after the Pearl record, right? That came out in '84.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, since that time, you've released several solo albums. You know, After the Pearl, The Pilgrim came out in '92. This Way Up came out in 2001. You had Return to Memphis that came out in 2013. Very interesting. You did in 2015. You went into the studios with some members of 10,000 Maniacs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was a charity record for an organization called Why Hunger.
Yeah, yeah.
And you did the Badfinger song Sweet Tuesday Morning from the Straight Up
That's
album.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Who in 10,000 Maniacs was on it? Was Natalie Merchant with you?
Yeah,
she did sing that.
Yes,
with you,
that's
right?
right. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, she's got a great voice.
Yeah, lovely,
Great voice
lovely.
on her.
She's a lovely lady. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, flash forward a couple more years, and you just did a tour last year with Todd Rundgren, Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees,
Yeah.
Christopher Cross, and Jason Scheff.
Yeah.
And you did the Beatles' White Album.
Yeah. That's
Wow, that was the 50th anniversary song.
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah. Now, did you do any Badfinger songs too?
We did Baby Blue on that tour, and that's because Todd produced it, and so Todd and I sang that song together on the show.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, Todd's been around quite a bit. I saw him when the Cars got back together, like his version of the Cars. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
What's it like playing with Mickey Dolenz? He's got to be a panic, right? He's got to be fun.
He's lovely. Yeah, he's a performer. He did I'm So Tired and stuff, and he'd come out and do a real performance of those songs, like he's sitting around a campfire or something. And he was fabulous. I really enjoyed him. Just enjoyed him.
Now, which Beatles songs did you sing?
I sang Revolution, and I sang
I could see that.
the George Harrison song.
While My Guitar
No, Savoy Truffle. Savoy, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Savoy Truffle. I only sang those two. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Did you? I'm curious because I haven't heard anything from this. Did you do it like back to front in order, or was it mixed up?
It was mixed up. To make a show out of it.
Yeah.
And we came and went on the stage during the stage show, and we played a couple of numbers with each other, and then we were featured as the lead singer. So we came and went during the show. There were different people on stage. It was kind of entertaining, I guess.
Yeah. Now, when did that wrap up in 2019?
In December, late December.
Oh, wow. So you got it done just in time for the pandemic. Thank God you were able to get it.
Yeah. We were going to do another 40 shows, 50 shows this year. And that whole thing was cancelled because of the pandemic.
Yeah, this year has been from hell.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. For sure.
Oh God! But I actually was supposed to see Roger McGuinn this month, and out on Long Island, they had to cancel it because of the pandemic. They're going to reschedule it next year, I think.
Yeah.
But so that leads us now to 2020 and your brand new album that's coming out on October 16th called Be True to Yourself.
Yeah.
Great title.
Thank you, man.
Great title. I love
Thank
that.
you.
It's on Omnivore Records, and you got an all-star group of people involved with this. Everybody from Julian Lennon, Mickey Dolenz. Who else is on there? Jason Scheff?
Yeah, Jason Scheff came and sang with us. Great singer, man. Wow, what a great voice. He's been the voice of Chicago for all these years. Just a stunning singer, powerful, and a really lovely guy to boot. And I know we say that about people, but in Jason's case, it's really true. He's a wonderful man. Great fun making the record. We had Steve Holley playing drums, who'd been McCartney's drummer, and Paulson.
I've seen Steve Holley several times with Ian Hunter.
Yeah, that's right.
He's in the Rant band.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing show. Are you an Ian Hunter fan?
Yeah, I like Ian Hunter. Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
So you released a single called All I Want to Do.
Yep.
And I listened to it and I said, That's Badfinger. I mean, it just really, you really.
Well,
That's the sound, and Rainy Day Man is another song that you're putting out as a single, right?
Actually, that came first. It's already sold out. Nowadays, when they release singles, it's not like the old days where they put them out as like teasers for the album or something. So Rainy Day Man, and then one called I don't want to be done with you, and then the one you just mentioned, All I Want to Do.
Tell us about Julian Lennon on the album. He did the album cover, the back and front. Right?
He let us, or he gave us permission to use a couple of his photographs, and they really worked with what we were looking at. They were lovely. And again, he's a great guy. He came in and he loved the songs, and he'd learned the harmonies, and then he took direction from Mark Hudson as far as specific harmony melodies and things, but just a real professional, really great job. And thank you very much, Julian. I'd met him years ago when the Veloth came out, his solo album, and a great record, very successful. And so it was lovely to see him again and do the work with him. It's great.
Right. Okay, so I want to thank you for coming on. And we wish you all the luck with this new album. I mean, I'm going to be buying it. It's amazing. Yeah, really.
I'm going to
I've
have
heard
to
a few
buy it
songs
too.
of it. Sounds fantastic.
I
don't know if you ever come to New York City often. Definitely look us up, please. We owe you dinner. We owe you some drinks. Anything.
I'll take both. Thank you very much. Hey, listen, can I say something? Can I say something? Just for the end of the Badfinger story. In 1985, Tommy's estate, Pete's estate, our personal manager, Bill Collins, Mike Gibbons' estate, because Mike Gibbons and myself went to court in London, and we settled all the Badfinger differences. And since then, everybody in the band has gotten 100% of everything they ever made with that band.
That's fantastic. It worked itself out. In the end.
And to this day, everybody gets all their money. All their money. Not percentages, all their money. So it all worked out really good. Everybody's doing okay. I'm happy to say, and I just wanted to let you guys know that it was all worked out.
I'm glad. I'm glad that it did all come out in the end and work out.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys had a lot coming to you.
Yeah. And there's a lot of misconstrued about the relationships in the band, and people taking advantages, and people who weren't there writing things about the band that they don't really know about. And, there are stories that will never be told because they really will affect the families. They really will affect them.
There's no reason.
The way they look on their dads, and I'm not going to get involved in that for anybody, So.
Of course not. Of course not. I mean, what it's all about is the music and the legacy that you guys have. I'm glad that it all worked out in the end for you as far as the finances and, the relationships and stuff. But it's really the legacy of Badfinger. Now, the next thing that has to happen is you guys got to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, we'll see about that. But, I don't know the criteria for getting in the Hall of Fame. I suppose we should be there. I don't know what it is. And, it's...
Well, I could do a whole show on how I can't stand the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But it's... if it's going by any other band that's been put in there, you guys are as good, if not better, than probably 50% of the people that are in that Hall of Fame. So you need to be in there. But like we were saying before, now you come to New York City, you call us up. Rob here is a bartender. We'll take care of you. All right. And you're all set up. So just let us know.
Okay, man. I'm game.
Yeah.
I'm game.
All right.
You guys take care of yourselves. And thanks for helping me with my album,
Thank you. Appreciate so much. And we're going to plug your album as we go along the next few weeks. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, Joey. Be
God
good.
bless, man.
God bless.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
You too, brother. Have a good one.
Rob. Yes.
Hey, so
yes,
Mike,
we need
let's
to
plug
talk about
Bill
Bill Kelly.
with a nice
okay?
shout out.
Bill Kelly's been around. He's a DJ. He started that on WFMU years ago. I've been listening to him for a long time, and he did a fantastic thing for us last week. He talked about the rock show and mentioned me, RockerMike, and you, Rob Rossi. And I just want to tell everybody to check out his show, which is called Black Hole Bandstand. And it's on Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius XM Channel 21, Saturday nights from 8 to midnight. Listen to it. Get some real rock and roll to you.
Yeah, it's a really good show, and people will enjoy it. And you know what? Thanks for him for a great shout out, and you know
definitely.
what, putting us a little bit on the map. You know, all the people, all the help, we could use all the help. Today we had a great guest, great interview. You guys want stuff like this, like that. You know what? We'll try and make a little budget here so we could be able to go to bigger places, get more equipment, and
I'm looking forward to
make the show
2021.
better all
I
around,
think that
you know?
we're going to start getting places, Mr. Rossi.
Yeah, I think so too. So Mike, thank you for getting Joey. Great interview. We learned a lot today. Like that back of the end shit. Holy crap! At least they all got the money.
They did, but
really
it took so many years for it to work out. But I'm glad it did. And you know, those first few Badfinger albums are really classic. Yeah, it's like, you know, must have.
Yeah,
that
really there's good stuff.
Fan. So where can we find you, Rob?
Yeah. So you can find me at any place that you can find Lumped Up. And just look Lumped Up, and you're going to see my big head there. And you can find me anywhere, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and just look for
you can
Bob
find
Rossi,
me on Facebook under my name, Michael Baker. Also, the Rock Show group page, the Rock Show podcast group page, I should say, on Facebook, where we do a song of the day, album of the day. We do a lumped up song of the night. We do a bunch of stuff. A lot of information on that page. Also, you can find me on Instagram, RockerMike212 every day, and on Twitter, RockerMike3.
Not bad, Mike. So thank you for doing a great show today. It was a great guest. And we'll see you next time on Rocker Mike and Rock Present. And remember, don't get drunk, get lumped.
Take care, people.
Get lumped.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.